When I was 16 or 17 or 18, I think if anybody knew me at that time and they see me now, right, they would not believe their eyes, right? I mean, this is not what anybody expected me to grow up into, and not just that I would go into finance. I mean, I have a very close friend from my college days. He said the other day, he said the last person I would have thought would end up on a trading floor is you. So that's surprising.
You're listening to When You Grow Up, a podcast that matches Johns Hopkins students with the people they dream of being in the future. Tune in to access intimate conversations with CEOs, entrepreneurs, and artists, and hear answers to the questions we all wrestle with. Will I ever feel ready? Can I do it? And most importantly, was it worth it? When You Grow Up is available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Hi, I'm Alakarthika. I am from Tamil Nadu, India, and I am a graduate student in data science. And I'd like to introduce my guest, Noor.
Nice to be here. My name is Noor Islam. I am originally from Karachi, Pakistan. I grew up there. I came here when I was 18. I studied physics at Hopkins, not undergrad. I went to graduate school at Hopkins, so I got a PhD in physics. And where I am now is New York City. And where I am exactly located in New York City is actually my employer, Bank of America, and I am a managing director in fixed income trading. I run something called the Fixed Income ETF Trading Desk. You're listening to the When You Grow Up podcast.
You're from Karachi, right?
That is correct. I am from Karachi. And where in Tamil Nadu are you from?
Chennai.
Okay. That's so Chennai used to have, and Chennai is Madras.
Yeah, Madras.
Okay, all right. I'm old, right? So this is the When You Grow Old podcast. I'm old, so I still remember the old names.
Okay. So you came here for grad school to the USA?
No. I came here for undergrad.
Okay.
I was a lot younger with more hair and less gray hair. I came here at 18. I came here probably as one of the most clueless undergrads, not attuned to American culture at all. And what you see after 30 years is a completely different product.
I get it. I'm still getting used to everything over here. And I came when I'm 22, not 18. And I'm kind of an adult already, but still it's really hard, if you get what I mean.
Well, yes, because I've been there and I have many stories about how clueless I was and did not know much about how to get around.
So I was just wondering, why did you switch from physics to finance? How was it like, the switch to physics?
How was it like? Okay, I will start with the truth. There are two things, right? I didn't switch from physics to finance because I was a great wizard and I was really great at what I did. I switched from physics to finance because of two things. One is that I think I realized very quickly that if I pursue physics, I'm going to be mediocre at best because physics guys are really smart and I'm not that smart, right? And the other thing I kind of got attracted to was that a lot of my friends from college were in banks. They worked in finance. So a combination of those two factors, I think, made me decide that maybe I should explore that as a career. And it is not easy to get into finance after going into physics, and the path is somewhat long-winded. Or winded, but you get your foot in the door in some place, and then you kind of like plod your way through and find a good seat. So that's kind of my story. It's not a straight kind of shoe-in into finance. Great job, you are here. Nothing like that.
I understand. So, how did your experiences at Johns Hopkins University help you find your first job after graduation? Or
So experiences at Johns Hopkins University, I would say that the first job I got was like I basically hustled, and I found a headhunter who was, who connected me with a firm called Ernst& Young, which you might have heard of. It's one of the big five accounting firms. They had a consulting practice where they went to financial institutions and, checked their derivatives books and all these things, for which they needed somebody with a PhD, right? So that's how I got the job. And to the extent that Hopkins helped, I think Hopkins helped in one respect, right? I mean, I have a quantitative degree, so I learned, so that's what they were looking for. And getting a job, a lot of it really depends on luck. I did have connections in the financial industry. A lot of my friends were in the financial industry, but connections, and some of those connections were from Hopkins, namely David Kupperman, who had 1 year before gone to Goldman Sachs. So Hopkins helped, education helped, and I think one thing that helped me get a job is that I was a bit persistent, right? And so I was more persistent than most people. I cast a pretty wide net, and just you have to get your foot in the door in one place, right? And I got a lot of rejections. I had this story where I got a job at Ernst & Young, which was a pretty decent job, right? And I had interviewed at a software company where I would say, from in retrospect, now that I've interviewed a lot of people, I would say that they humiliated me a little bit, right? And I go into a conference, a risk conference, as an Ernst & Young employee, and I run into this guy who had humiliated me in the interview. And he just acknowledges me, and he realizes that I actually have a better job than what he was offering, that paid a little more, not a lot, but a little more. And so, that's kind of like your poetic justice, right? I mean, 30 years from that time, I don't know if I want to meet the guy again, but I don't think the guy thought I would ever get to where I am, surviving in the industry for 30 years. So you have to take a lot. You have to be resilient.
Yeah, I get it. Especially as an international student, you also have a lot of things that are weighing against you.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, you have visa timelines, right? I mean, you have, obviously, there are a lot of employers, especially now. There were fewer then. Especially now, there's a whole bunch of employers who would not, hire you because they would need to sponsor a visa and so on and so forth. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, definitely the challenges are greater now for international students. I think there were fewer when I was looking, but that's something you have to deal with. The world is a different place.
Yeah.
But that said, I mean, back in India or back somewhere else, wherever somebody's from, I think there are better jobs available. There are a lot of American jobs that have moved there that I mean, when I was here, there was no other option, at least for me.
So if you had to do it all again, what would you do differently?
It's tough to say what you would do differently. Some people ask me, this is asked often, right? You don't need a PhD to, do the job that I do in finance now, right? And some people say, well, was it worth it going to graduate school and getting a PhD, right? When I was in college, I went to a college where, it's called Middlebury College. It's one of the liberal arts colleges in New England. And it is a feeder college to all these banks. Most of my friends went to investment banks like Lehman Brothers, that was up at that time, Credit Suisse, these places. So it is asked, why you could have done that. And yes, if it is just a matter of, progressing in your career, I think that would have probably been a better move. I do think that going to graduate school kind of made me smarter in some respects. I think that going to graduate school made me an expert at some level in one thing, right? I think it helps. And I think one very important thing that it did is it kind of anchored me a little bit, right? Because a lot of people, if I had gotten out of college, I would have gotten into a bank, and let's say I had had a great career, and I would very fast, very quickly, I would have probably acquired a lot of money, and I think that 6 or 7 years of struggle in graduate school was character building in a very profound way. That was, at times it was very, very tough. I'll be very honest, right? But it was character building, and you realize that that is a good thing at this age, because life is full of challenges. And I say this also to my wife sometimes. We talk about these things a lot. Is that the sooner you stumble, the better it is, because then you learn, and you learn how to deal with these things. People who get to the age of 40 or 50 and haven't had a single stumble, they're in a bad place, because when they stumble, because everybody can get a curveball anytime in their lives, when it comes, you don't know how to deal with it. And trust me, I've had my share of curveballs after that, but I think I'm able to deal with those better, because life was not very cushy. It was very, very tough. The life of a graduate student is very tough. And so that's it.
That's very informative, because I feel like in my undergrad I didn't really work that hard, but after coming here I'm working really, really hard, like all of the time.
Yeah, so I want to be completely honest and not sugarcoat things that, I was so great. I would say that I worked insanely hard when I was in high school, and I worked insanely hard when I was in college. At least for the first, I got out of college in 3 years. So I worked insanely hard for, let's say, 2.5 years of college. And then I had attuned enough to American culture that I discovered partying. And so I discovered partying, and I got into graduate school because I was a reasonably good student. I discovered partying, and I also got burnt out, because I had done this nonstop effort. Like, I used to work very, very hard, and you get burnt out, especially when you're in graduate school. The first few years, you feel like there is no light at the end of the tunnel, right? It is just going and going. You have another 4 years to go. You are, not, and so there is no kind of like reward hanging at the end. I think I operate a little better if I kind of see some end goal. That's my nature. Different people work in different ways, right? So I burned out, right? And I certainly did not do as well in graduate school as I should have, right? And that's what it is. I didn't work that hard. I should have worked harder, right? And then I got a job, and then there was a reward. There's something hanging, and I got back into my habit of going crazy with work. I'm almost 50 years old, and I wake up at anywhere between 3:30 to 4:30, and I start work. So I can still do that. I have that ability, but something has to hang in front of me that this is what, work is going to get me. Otherwise, I'll lose motivation or get burnt out.
Yeah, it's easier to work when you know what's going to happen after that. Like, if you work hard, and if you work hard enough, you're going to get something, and then your brain just helps you, like, you actually want to put in the effort for it.
That's right. But if you are just, to no end, right, then some people, operate differently. I am wired a certain way. It's just a matter of wiring.
Yeah. So what is your job like? What do you do as part of your job?
Oh, good. So the question is twofold, right? One is, what do I do as, like, what is FIC ETF trading, which is what I do, right? Mm-hmm. And what is my day-to-day job like, right? So I will first talk about ETF trading. I don't know if people know ETF. ETF stands for Exchange Traded Funds, which are essentially, you can think of them as little companies with securities in them. They could be bonds, they could be anything, they could be shares, right? I trade fixed income ETFs. What that means is that they are funds or little companies with a lot of bonds in them that are managed by some fund manager, right? So these are traded on the exchange. So my job or my desk, right, trades these things. All right. It's a somewhat new product. It is not very, very old. but it is interesting to trade them because there are many nuances about how you trade them and how you can buy shares of this, maybe liquidate them, get the bonds, and so on and so forth. It's a whole kind of stuff that goes on. So that's what I do, or that's what people do who I work with. I do very little work.
I mean, as you climb up the corporate ladder, I guess it's easier.
Well, climbing up the corporate ladder is a very loaded term. I have not climbed up the corporate ladder. I am probably very close to the bottom of that ladder.
Oh.
The only thing is that I think at this stage in my life, and age slows you down. Age does a lot of things. I just could not possibly sit and do the real work, right? I cannot. So I kind of like work on, being the Monday morning quarterback or Tuesday morning quarterback for brighter and more energetic people who do the work.
So what is your day-to-day job like?
So my day-to-day job involves being on the phone a lot, right? Being on the phone a lot, writing a lot of emails, right? I do some real work sometimes. So one thing I try to do is that I can do the real work if somebody puts a gun to my head. Not as well as people who do it every day, but well enough that if they get hit by a bus, then I can kind of manage and not have the whole thing come down crashing down. So that's so my day essentially is, it starts with, as I said, I wake up pretty early in the morning. So I start work when I'm at home. My family's sleeping. I would generally cover my emails that come overnight, some of them from London or whatever. We have part of the, some people work in London, so in my group, so I speak with them, right? That's at that time. And then I read about the markets, kind of like what's happening in my world, right? And then I do my family stuff, right? My kids wake up, I have to put them in a bus. And then when I come here, my day generally starts with phone calls, right? There are phone calls with my superiors. There are phone calls with my peers. There are phone calls with clients. So a lot of my day is just phone calls and meetings, right? And writing emails, right? Just checking through your emails. That's pretty much all I do, really, is like, check emails, phone calls, and meetings at this time. Now, when I was, doing real work, my day was, you come in, you look at your book, you check the marks, you run the models, you get ready, the market opens, you price trades, all those things. But that's ancient history for me. I don't even know how it's done now because everybody is smarter. People use Python. When I was doing work, Python was not a thing, right? So that's how it is.
So, is your job stressful? Because finance jobs have a reputation of being very stressful.
Yes. So it can be as stressful as you can make it out to be, right? Do I wear my job 24 hours? The answer is yes. I do wear my job 24 hours in the sense that I'm constantly thinking about it. It's absolutely true, right? But outside of that, I think that, and it is a demanding job, right? I mean, it is a demanding job. You need to think about it 24 hours. So in that sense, it is stressful. But there are also stresses that come with, that you don't have to take. All right. And what I have told myself is that it's only about money, right? I mean, the stress is only about money. If the stress is about money, then the stress is not worth it, right? Because it's only about money. People say, well, and I see younger people when they do that, well, I lost this much money today, and only today somebody, got into a bad trade. This happens. And they lost some money and they were this, the guy who's probably 25, 26 years old is a wreck about it, right? He's like not taking it very well. And I said, you know what? It's only about money, right? What is the worst that would happen? You would be fired. All right. Do you think you cannot get another job? Pretty sure you can get another job. So it's only about money. You don't have to sweat it. You did your best. Nobody is perfect. Everybody makes a mistake. I've made many, many in my life. Certainly in trading, I have. So it happens, right?
Yeah.
It's only about money.
Yeah.
And money is not that important.
Kind of.
No, I mean, it seems like it's very important, right? It seems at this stage it's very important. And people say, well, you are in a bank. Well, it's easy for you to say this. But I also have the perspective of having a perspective on other challenges in life, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You have kids, you have family. Are they okay? Right? I mean, I can disclose this person. I have a child who's disabled. To me, that is a lot more important than if somebody said, give up all your money and your job and your child will get better. What would I do? Right? It's not even a close call. So people have to keep this perspective. It's all about money, and money is not that important.
Yeah, I get it.
Right? All the listeners to this podcast are going to Hopkins. It's a good school. They'll all have jobs. Right? It's not like they are set to starve on the streets. Nobody is going to, right? So then beyond that, I think people should not really care that much.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right? I mean, I do not tell my kids, I have young kids, I have 3 kids, so I do not ever encourage them to go into finance because I don't want them to think that they're going to school to make money. So that's that. It's my very long-winded answer.
Thank you. Thank you for that answer. When has your career or your career path surprised you?
Yeah, I think career path in retrospect, I think in every respect, when I was 16 or 17 or 18, I think if anybody knew me at that time and they see me now, right, they would not believe their eyes, right? I mean, this is not what anybody expected me to grow up into. And not just that I would go into finance. I mean, I have a very close friend from my college days, and he's still a close friend. And I have many, many very funny stories with him and his wife, who was his girlfriend in our college. So we were very good friends. And she's from Chennai, right? So he said the other day, he said, the last person I would have thought would end up on a trading floor is you. So that's surprising. It is surprising. The kind of person I was when I came to the US, I can be honest about it. I came from a relatively conservative family with not much exposure to anything, like TV or pop music or anything, right? I mean, so I knew English. My parents were pretty hard ass on. I apologize for the expression, on making sure you study, but no frills, right? No television, no video, VCR. Bollywood. I had seen a total of 3 Bollywood movies.
Wow.
Right, 3 Bollywood movies in my life when I came to the US. I used to say 4 because I thought the movie Gandhi was also Bollywood, but it's not, as you know. So I was that clueless, right? And then I come to this liberal arts college in Vermont, which is a private college, and I have no clue. I used to wear my shalwar kameez, which you know what it is, right? In the dorm, I was that guy. I used to wear shalwar kameez in the dorm. And that's how I lived. And I also was a very religious kid. And one of the parts that I think is important to note in my kind of evolution as a person is that I lost faith. And that too was very important. And that was, in my opinion, a kind of an interesting journey. So in every respect, right, I wanted to be a physicist. I wanted to be a professor. You had asked me, actually, there was a poll in my high school in the yearbook, who is most likely to become a scientist? And I got 92% of the vote
Oh,
in my
wow.
class, right? I mean, so this was me. And here I am, like sitting in a bank, right? Life is very unpredictable.
So after you started your first job, did you think that, okay, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, or you just went with it?
I did think that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, in this sense that I actually enjoyed the work, right? I actually thought the work was actually interesting. It was intellectually stimulating, and it was consequential to some people, right? Not to the world, but to some people. So yeah, I actually thought that, yeah, I'm gonna stick in this. I'm gonna be here, and I'm gonna be in this industry for. This is not bad, and it was not because of the money, because they were not paying me that much. By the way, it was not a very highly paid job, but I like to work.
That makes sense. Any advice that you would like to give me?
For people who are in a situation, they're graduate students, they're looking for jobs, and some of them want to go into finance, and some of them. I would say that to get a job in finance, just be very persistent, cast a very wide net, and just keep hammering away at it. At some point, you get a break.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So that's that. Right. The other advice is life advice and this is very contrary to what I'm supposed to be telling people, right? I tell my kids this, right? I said, I tell them that don't aim to make money, aim to make a difference. And certainly not something I've lived up to be very honest with you, right? I mean, I will be honest, this is not something I have lived up to, but in retrospect, I think that's where I want my kids to go, right? And if money is something that is important to you, if you are trying to make a difference and you're good at what you do and you give it your all, money will come. Because when I was a child, I never, looked to make any money.
If I have any questions later, can I contact you on LinkedIn? I think I sent you a request.
Yeah, I did, and I connected, right?
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And anybody who wants to connect with me, I'm on LinkedIn. I think the university has my contact. I'm happy to, talk to people and where I can, if it's possible for me to connect them with the right people for, if they're looking for jobs and so on, we are looking for talent, right?
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You've been listening to the When You Grow Up podcast. If you liked this podcast and got value out of it, the best thing you can do is share it with your friends. And if you're interested in having a conversation with someone who has your dream career, shoot us an email at growup@jhu.edu. That's growup@jhu.edu. We'd like to give a special thanks to our student host and guest professional. This program is produced by Aaliyah Poonawalla and Casey Miller. Our team writer is Casey Miller. The podcast was edited by Thomas Nishimoto and Josh Felton. Tessa McKenzie is our relationship manager, and Ben Stevens is our project manager. When You Grow Up is presented by Higher Hopkins and Hopkins Connect. Thank you so much for listening.